everybody, my name is Colin, welcome back to another video. Today, in this one, it's going to be another tier list video, and in this one, it's going to be my tier list on meta decks post-Alliance Insight / YCS Providence. They're pretty much the same thing. Alliance Insight came out the day before Providence happened, and obviously, people play the new cards for Providence and stuff like that. So yeah, it's not that much of a different format compared to the one we just got out of. Maybe a little bit less diverse because Alliance Insight makes the top decks a little bit more powerful. Overall though, I would still say it's a pretty decent format with a little bit less diversity compared to what we just came from the last format, but I still think there's going to be a lot of diversity in this format. Just the top decks are going to be a little bit more powerful compared to what it was before Alliance Insight. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into the tier list, shall we? So our tiers are tier 1, tier 1.5, tier 2, rogue, and not this format. We'll start off with our tier 1 decks here, and obviously we have to start off with the biggest thing in the room, and that is right now Malice. This is a really good deck just because it got a lot of good stuff out of Alliance Insight. It got March Hare, which is a very important extender that is also a name, so it's searchable in the deck as well. It got the backup Adignister plus the Wizard Adignister as well, which is a very, very insane cards that gives it more consistency, and it's really, really good. And obviously the new extra deck monster and allied Code Talker Adignister, which is just an Omni Negate for the deck as well, which is a deck that's never had an Omni Negate and now has an Omni Negate. It's a very, very powerful deck. It was already probably the best deck for coming from the last format going into this format, but now it's more powerful. It's really, really good, really consistent, even with the names at 2 and the field spell being at 2 as well. Very, very powerful, but it's not like a tier 0 deck. I think a lot of people were expecting this just to be the best deck in the format and nothing else would compete with it. We have pretty much figured out that is not the case when it comes to this format, because this didn't even get into the finals of YCS Providence, which is why a lot of people were expecting this to probably win YCS Providence, but it didn't even make the finals. Now, it did dominate the top cut pretty much, but it just didn't translate into a final win. I would expect this to get a YCS top eventually. That's kind of Malice's problem right now. It doesn't have a YCS top under it, or a YCS win under its belt, but I would assume it's coming sooner rather than later. But it's still probably the best deck in the format without a doubt. But there is another one with it, and surprisingly enough, it is going to be Miterugi Risle. I think this deck is absolutely insane. Now, everyone knew that Miterugi was going to be a player in this format somewhere. I just don't think a lot of people expected it to be very much competing with Malice when it comes to the top decks in the format. The new support is absolutely ridiculous from Miterugi. I think everyone knew it was ridiculous, but they kind of underestimate how ridiculous the good stuff, or how good the Miterugi stuff. Like, if you asked me before YCS Providence, or even before, like, initially after the new support got revealed, I would say it'd probably be like in 1.5, maybe tier, but probably in 1.5, but it is for sure a tier 1 deck. It's so powerful, especially with the Risle stuff as well. A lot of people are just backing up the Miterugi stuff with the Risle stuff, and it's insane. Like, beforehand, you would play a lot of the Risle stuff and with a little bit of the Miterugi stuff. Now, I think you can argue that you're playing a lot more Miterugi stuff and then just, you know, having a smaller Risle engine in the deck. This deck is absolutely fucking wild. Being able to, you know, Omni, being able to board wipe, Habakiri, just being able to have consistency for the deck. And then, obviously, the Risle is self-explanatory. Risle is still very insane as well. I think this deck is very good and can compete with Malice for sure. So I think these are your 2 tier 1 decks when it comes to this format. I think everything else probably falls between 1.5 or below. I'm not saying that the bottom decks can't compete with these 2 decks. I will always say from tier 1.5 to rogue, these will always compete with the tier 1 decks, but I think the tier 1 decks, if you like had 100 matches, they'll probably have a way better winning percentage in the tier 1 strategy. So that's why I'm kind of going off of right now. So we'll go to 1.5. I think that's pretty much every other versions of Malice or Risle. So I think the Malice Fiendsmith goes into 1.5. I think this is cool, a little engine, but I think the new support is just better. But a lot of the new support locks you to Cybers, like the backup stuff and stuff like that. So like, this is cool, but you have to play less of the newer stuff. It's not bad. It's still like, I wouldn't give it like, it's still a very solid deck, but I think just this version of Malice is just a lot better. Pure Miterugi, very, very insane. I think this is really good stuff. In my opinion, I still think the Miterugi stuff should have some other engine in the deck, but if you want to play Pure, the Pure version of the deck is still very solid. It also has a top at the YCS Providence as well, so I would for sure put this in 1.5. The rest of the Risle stuff, so like Pure Risle is going to be here, Fiendsmith Risle, and yeah, this is a little bit worse. I'm actually going to put this in tier 2, but I'll talk about that in 1 second. Pure Risle is just Pure Risle, like Detonator is still Detonator, playing a shit ton of hand traps is cool. And Fiendsmith Risle, I think it also made the finals. I think it was like Fiendsmith Risle versus Miterugi Risle, which was cool. Yeah, Fiendsmith is still Fiendsmith. It did not get hit. It's still a very solid engine, and Risle is still very good as well. So I think these are your 1.5 decks. Pure, again, Detonator, if you can get to the Detonator and control with like hand traps, and like with the Star Risle being able to search for either cross or the trap is very insane as well. Again, I've already talked about these two. I think these are your 1.5 strategies. I'm kind of looking to see if I want to put anything else in 1.5. I don't think I do. Yeah, I don't think I do. Nah. Like a lot of these, like I want to put a little bit more decks in 1.5 because there's a lot of decks going to tier 2 or not this form, or Rogue or not this format. But like, I think this is really pretty much it for 1.5. I don't know. I'll throw Primite Blue Eyes and this. Like, I don't know. This seems a little weird to me, to be honest with you. Oh, this is Primite Fiendsmith. Sorry, that's not what I want. I want to do Blue Eyes is what I want to do here. Yeah, I think I'm going to stick with that and probably put Memento here as well if I really want to. I think everything else doesn't really... Yeah, let's just go with that, shall we? So yeah, I put these in 1.5. Like these are very much contenders. You'll probably see these a lot in the format. Blue Eyes is just a structure deck that's very much insane. You do have to play the Primite stuff, so there should be like a Primite little image here, but very insane. The grind match is very, very insane with this deck. This is a newer deck, the Live Twin Fiendsmith deck. This is because the Live Twin stuff got new support. I think it's very solid. I think this is probably the new way you take Fiendsmith if you're going to play Fiendsmith in this format. It's a really solid deck, and it also has a top at the YCS as well. And Memento, I think this has fallen off a little bit. Like, you can probably argue this for being in tier 2, but I'm going to stick with it in 1.5. Just this deck is very, very solid still. It doesn't have any hits. Fiendsmith is very insane. It, you know, it won a YCS before Alliance Insight came out. So, but with Alliance Insight, I think you can argue maybe putting it in tier 2. I'm going to still put it in 1.5 for now. And now we'll move in to tier 2, and we'll start off with this deck, the Risle Circular deck that's playing like the Math Mech engine and stuff like that. I think it's cool. I just think every other version of Risle is just better. I think this just the Math Mech stuff just does brick you a lot. Like I think there's just better options than this. A lot of people were trying this, but I just don't think it's necessarily the greatest in the world, just because it does have that somewhat bricking problem with the deck. I'm not saying like this, and this also doesn't have a bricking problem, but I think this has more of a bricking problem compared to those decks as well. Regenesis, this is the newer deck in the format. This is a new engine that you could play that came out of Alliance Insight. It's kind of just like a sloop pile. Like you play like Fiendsmith, you play like Castria stuff because they're I think Unicorn is the one that has 2500 defense, so like having the Unicorn plus any Regenesis monster is really cool as well. It's kind of just a little bit of a control deck. It's kind of like in line with like what the Fiendsmith like slot piles kind of do. It's kind of just, this is a control deck that outgrinds your opponent, which is really cool. I think this is a very solid deck. I think there's obviously, like I said, I think tier 1 and tier 1.5, these are just better decks, but I think this is a very solid option, especially if you want to play like the new Regenesis stuff. I think this deck is actually not that bad going into the next format. Like, it maybe as a pure deck, it's a little bit worse, but like as in like an engine kind of deck, I kind of like this deck a lot. So I'm going to put it in tier 2 for sure. I think this goes here too. Primite Fiendsmith is just another version of Fiendsmith that's really, really cool as well. I think Tempai also belongs here, just another Fiendsmith deck that's really cool as well. Very, very solid, especially with the OTK potential with the Tempai monsters. White Force goes into tier 2 as well. It's got a lot of the new support. I think this deck is very insane. Just didn't really translate into the top cut, which is unfortunate, but I think this deck is very solid as well. Mermel, I think, also belongs to tier 2. It does have a YCS top. I think I'll put it a little bit higher for that reason as well. I think it's a little bit worse because Bahamut Shark is banned, but you can still pretty much do your combo. You just don't have the Toad anymore. But I think it's still a very solid deck, especially if it gets uninterrupted as well. I think Labyrinth deserves to be in tier 2 as well. Labyrinth is just a very solid deck. As well, it's always been like a solid deck, a very controlled deck. But again, a lot of people were just moving towards newer decks. But if you like one trick this deck is very, very, very good, and you can still get YCS tops with this as well. Surprisingly enough, Odeon in tier 2. This was a card or deck I had in 1.5 before Alliance Insight came out. I think with Alliance Insight, it's got a lot worse. I think this is just because there's a lot more Omni Negates in the format, and maybe I think more people have just figured out what the deck has done. I'm still going to put it like up here, probably up here, because it's still a solid deck, but it's just like, it kind of did fall off a little bit with this YCS, so I will put it in tier 2. Anything else I want to put in tier 2? Crystron's kind of cool. I do kind of like the Crystron. Oh, and Bestial Fiendsmith. This is kind of a part of the Fiendsmith slop pile, kind of piles that are going around. Crystron is also a very solid deck. Again, I've tested this deck. I just wish the extra deck was there. Like, I feel like the main deck stuff is there, but like the extra deck stuff isn't quite there. Like Infinity being a negate and stuff. I wish it had like more machine links it can go into. That's why I kind of wish for the deck. Still solid though. Tier 2 for sure. Castria Fiendsmith is also as a part of the Fiendsmith pile decks as well. And I think that's going to be it for tier 2. Now let's get into Rogue. So Rogue, yeah, I think Snake Eyes Fiendsmith is a kind of a cool little deck that you can play. It's a part of the like Fiendsmith slop, and people are trying it because Snake Eyes, like Ash and Papa, are now at 2. But I think this is a little bit more in the Rogue. I think Fire King is cool as well, but I think it's kind of fallen off to Rogue as well. A very solid deck for sure, though. Voiceless Voice, I don't know how this deck keeps topping, but a lot of people like it. Regional tops, sorry, I should say regional tops. I think this deck is okay. I don't think it's necessarily the greatest, but I think if you do one trick this deck, it's very solid. Centurion, very much a rogue deck as well. Unchained Fiendsmith, I love you so much, but you are definitely a rogue deck because, oh my god, you died to the Charmies way too much. So yeah, we're going to throw that in there. Bell is also kind of in the same situation as Unchained Fiendsmith, where it's really susceptible to something like Fua and stuff like that. So like I put this in Rogue as well. And like people are on Pirellia main deck now. So that's also a very much problem for these two decks as well. And anything else we want to put in here? Chimera, I'll put in Rogue as well. And I'll put this, like the branded stuff, it's very much fallen off, but I think you can maybe even argue not this format. I think the Chimera stuff is just better than it, but like it's still, I still think people are gonna, you'll find that one or two people playing it in like a regional that you'll have to play against as well. I think that is pretty much it. And for not this format, I'm gonna put Marincess in here. This is a kind of cool little combo, but I don't know. I think there's just way better combo decks in this format that I just don't think it's not for this format. This is cool. I'm glad that Circular is back. Like you can play like a Math Mech version of the deck. But guess what? There's just a way better version of Cyber's deck right now, and that is Malice. So if you're gonna play that, you might as well just play Malice at that point. Dragon Link is cool, but like I think the Bestial like Fiendsmith stuff is just better than Dragon Link. Eldritch got new support. It did get new support, but guess what? It doesn't do anything. Eldritch is still bad because Labyrinth is just the better version of a trap deck, to be honest with you. So if you want to play a trap deck, play Labyrinth. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Eldritch is just not there. Gazelle or the Salamangreat deck. Again, you can make the argument for this to be a little bit higher, like in Rogue or something like that, but I just, again, not this for this format, in my opinion. Tearlament! I'm gonna put this in Rogue. No. Tearlament deserves to be in Rogue. Ignore me. It deserves to be a Rogue deck for sure, because Tearlament is still very much fun to play with, and its end board, uninterrupted, is still fucking insane if it goes like full combo as well. So I'll put this in Rogue. And then this isn't the EU. I'm sorry, this deserves to be not in this format. If I lived in the EU, maybe this will be like in tier 2 or something like that. But I do not live in the EU, so for a United States person, this is definitely not for this format as well. I'm not saying someone can kick my ass with this deck, because this deck is, you know, unhit, I guess, except for Dryas and Healer, but like unhit and still has every pieces for it, and it's still a cool combo deck, but I think there's just better combo decks in the format as well. So that is my tier list. Yeah, tier 1 being Malice and Miterugi Risle. I think there's really no argument there for anyone. 1.5 is pretty much any other version of Miterugi, Risle, or Malice. Here, Blue Eyes, maybe this is a little high. Maybe I'm putting this a little bit too high. Maybe this should be a little bit lower. Maybe if you want to swap Regenesis with the Evil Twin stuff, you could. I think this deck very much is very solid. You know what? Now I'm saying it, I will switch this. I think Regenesis deserves to be a 1.5, and we'll put the Evil Twin stuff in tier 2. Maybe I was incorrect. That's why we do this last look, just in case I want to look over the things now that I have everything placed to see where I want to put things. Yeah, I think Regenesis is still solid. You can still argue this to be tier 2, but it does have a YCS top, so I will put it there. But this also has a YCS top, so I don't know. I think this deck is very solid. I really want to keep this in 1.5. I think it has the potential to do a lot of stuff because the new support's kind of fucking wild. But I will put it in tier 2 for now. Memento is kind of cool in 1.5, and Blue Eyes, again, I think that's a very solid choice for 1.5. Tier 2, we already gone to the Evil Twin stuff. Odeon kind of falling off. I think it's fine. Again, I'm not saying tier 2 can't compete with these decks. Tier 2 can very much compete with these decks. I'm saying just out of 100 matches, which is going to have the better win rate. I would say the 1.5s and tier 1s will probably have a better win rate. The Regenesis stuff, I really do like this deck a lot, so I'm going to put the, but I think it doesn't deserve to be any higher than tier 2. All the, just Fiendsmith slot piles that you can have in this format as well. White Forest, Labyrinth, and Crystron in tier 2 is fine. And then for Rogue and, Fire King, Snake Eyes, Voiceless, Centurion, the Unchained Fiendsmith, and the Yubel Fiendsmith Yubel Fiendsmith deserves to be Rogue. Tier Chimera and the branded stuff is cool as well, but I don't think it's just going to be Rogue for me. And then not for this format, Rika or just any of the plant pile deck. Regenesis, the Mathmech deck, I think Malice is just a way better deck than the Mathmech deck is. Dragon Link is cool, but I think all the Primites, or the Fiendsmith pile decks are better. Eldritch, I'm sorry, Labyrinth is just better, and the Salamangreat deck as well. So that is it for my tier list. I hope you guys did enjoy the tier list. If you did, leave a like, subscribe for more content on the channel, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.